Coming to you from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome back to the Gailey Show, the only daily LGBTQ radio news and talk show in the United States. I'm your host, John Parker. A couple weeks ago, we broadcasted live from the Home Hope Health Minneapolis Mayoral Candidate and Voter Education Forum. And then AM 950 Radio aired the full forum live, and you can watch that recording on our YouTube channel. Just search for The Gailey Show. But we here at The Gailey Show wanted to continue that coverage. So we are inviting candidates for Minneapolis mayor to join us for a conversation specific to the LGBTQ community. And we're the only ones right now doing that in the radio space. We started those interviews yesterday. And today, our guest candidate is Reverend Dr. DeWayne Davis. From national policy work on healthcare and housing to HIV outreach with communities of color in Minneapolis, Dr. DeWayne Davis has devoted his life to caring for vulnerable communities. He's been a leader in the fight for racial and economic justice, serving as the co-chair of the City Community Safety Working Group and the Minnesota Poor People's Campaign. As the lead minister at Plymouth Congregational Church, he's helped build caring relationships across lines of difference, bringing people together to work for reparations and dignity for our unhoused neighbors. Dr. Davis, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. I am so glad I'm finally with the gay show.
We are glad to have you. So can we start by you sharing with our listeners the specific actions that you've taken in your career to support the LGBTQ community?
Oh, I think that's a wonderful question. I'll start off by saying this. I met my husband in college. So we started dating when we were in college, and then we started our life together right after college. And right away, what that meant was we had to advocate for ourselves. This was in the early 90s, mid 90s. And so we had to advocate for ourselves. And so what that meant is, being out, going to all of the places where gay people were organizing, and that was with Capital Pride, that was with HRC, which was headquartered in DC, that was with the task force, but also on Capitol Hill. I started working on Capitol Hill right out of college. And I was so fortunate also to have that my first chief of staff, I was working for a member of Congress, and my first chief of staff, who was openly gay, really came to me and said, you are very gifted and you're very talented. And I know that you're trying to figure out how to move and how to operate. He said, but the most important thing you have is your word. And so after that, I took on, although I had a full spate of human needs issues, I always had LGBTQ rights and justice issues in my portfolio. So I was one of those staffers on Capitol Hill working with HRC and the task force for the Employment Non-Discrimination Act from the beginning, every variation on that. Then working on HIV AIDS funding, especially the Ryan White program. I worked for nothing but appropriators, so I was always making sure that we were getting full funding for Ryan White program and housing for people with AIDS program in the Housing and Urban Development spending bills. But I'm a part of, I started going to in a Metropolitan Community Church of Washington, D.C. And if people who don't know Metropolitan Community Church, please go look it up. This was the first denomination that was organized for a ministry expressly to LGBTQ people. And that's where my work really took on a big change, because I left politics, got my divinity degree, and all because I went to that Metropolitan Community Church in Washington, D.C., and knew that this was another part of my experience that I wanted to bring. That is to fight headlong religious oppression against LGBTQ people. I got here to Minneapolis, and the first thing I started doing was fighting those bathroom bills up at the Capitol. And I was up there both doing that and also working with the AIDS service organization, including Claire Housing, Aliveness, and then Rainbow Health, and all of those for full funding for HIV.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. My next question is, in 2024, according to exit polls, 86% of LGBTQ voters cast their ballots for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. However, since November, pollsters for legacy media outlets and the Democratic Party, think tanks both on the left and the right, and a certain popular Democratic governor have called for centrists and moderates, as well as the Democratic Party, to either downplay LGBTQ rights or to stop supporting certain rights altogether. This comes at a time when the LGBTQ community is facing the Trump administration, who is banning LGBTQ school curriculum, ending educational supports for LGBTQ students, revoking federal funding to colleges who are offering pro-LGBTQ services, banning transgender service members. As mayor, how would you reconcile this argument, this fight between those who want political leaders to downplay or walk away from the LGBTQ community when the community needs the most support right now?
I will never compromise on the humanity of anybody else. Never. And it's not just because I'm a gay man, but that is my work. I will never withhold the presumption of full humanity for any person. And I will not be bullied into doing that. And I will not be extorted into doing that. So I'll start there. And this is also where I get really critical of our allies, because you cannot reside in the symbol for long. Either you mean it or you don't. And so sometimes in the history, that we've been given symbolic gestures, sometimes that work. But that also means once you take on the symbol, and it's okay to act symbolically. But one thing I invite people to do is when you embrace the symbol, then that's when your work begins. And so that means then you're going to have to figure out how to be a fully present ally, fully present in the fight, and how you're going to be. And by the way, we saw this coming when there was an opportunity to fight and to learn and to go beyond the symbol. We knew what the goal was from the beginning. That is why they were picking on our trans siblings, because they knew that they could put the thumb on the most chaotic and divisive issue and push. But see, we knew that they've done that before. I was there in 2004 when they used marriage as a way to do it. And every time we do it, we stand back and we won't fully go into it. It's time to stop that. We know that trick. And so right now, what that means is go beyond the symbol. I say that specifically, the Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Office. Everyone wants to tout that, and they say in the city, oh, we have this. But what needs to happen once you created that office is that you empower people to do real work. You give them the authority and the room to really go for it, and you stand behind it. And so even that's what I'm telling now. That office is not just going to be some symbol that I wave up and say, look what we've done. No, we're going to fully empower, engage with the communities that are impacted. I say over and over again, I've said in this campaign, not about us, without us. You meet us at the table, talking you through the things that you may not feel, the things that may not impact you because you're not with us all the time. But you need to be there to listen and go beyond the symbol.
We're talking with Dr. DeWayne Davis, who is a candidate for Minneapolis mayor. Early voting is underway. You can find your ballot and polling location at vote.minneapolismn.gov. There you can also find information on how to register to vote if you had not. Election day is November 4th. Dr. Davis, our news partner, Windy City Times, out of Chicago, has discovered that in Chicago, no major hospital provides gender-affirming care anymore to trans youth because their federal funding was threatened by the Trump administration. In Michigan, the Attorney General put hospital systems on notice, saying that the availability of federal funds from the Trump administration does not determine whether or not those healthcare providers should comply with state human rights laws. In Pennsylvania, a complaint has been filed against a healthcare system on behalf of transgender plaintiffs, saying that the hospital system has discriminated against them because they stopped providing trans care after federal funding threats from the Trump administration. As mayor, how would you support healthcare systems in the city of Minneapolis to continue providing gender affirming healthcare and hold them accountable if they decided to stop?
Thank you, and I'm so glad you asked that question because I've been talking with certain providers about this ever since the beginning of the year, because we knew that this threat was coming. Again, that's the thing that I want to be forward looking. I don't shrink from what is coming. And I just want to say to that, a lot of people said I was overreacting to the election of Donald Trump in 2016. A lot of people said that I was, but I just want to point out that the reason I was, quote, overreacting is because I knew what was coming in down the pike. It's been there the whole time. They've been telling us what they were going to do. So even before the inauguration at the beginning of the year, I was talking to providers about what they were going to do, what we're going to be looking at. We were looking at the state legislature to backfill some of the things that we are expecting to get cut. But I'm saying all that is that right now, one of the reasons I'm running for mayor, and it goes directly to this question, we know that Washington is no longer going to be a reliable partner with us for the things that we want to do, for the values we hold dear, the people we want to serve. And so now is a time to have leadership that is working multi-jurisdictionally, working across differences, engaging at every level with the county, with the state, and even with our delegation in the federal legislature. Really begin to think like, what can we do when and if this comes down the pike? What can we work? What kind of systems can we build? What kind of things that can we share? What kind of cross collaboration can we do? And so that means, even for instance, when we know that if the Medicaid cuts that they've been proposing go through, not just for LGBTQ people, but a bunch of very vulnerable people are going to lose their access to health care. That means that the city is going to be at the forefront of a massive loss of service. So the question is, how are we going to collaborate with the county, with the universities here, with the federally qualified health centers here, to begin to see how we can provide some support? And so as mayor, what I'll be looking for the Department of Health to be doing is how can we scale and build and reshape preventive care services at the lowest level. We can't afford to do what the county can do with independent health care, but at least we can begin to put some shape around things that we can address. It's going to be very difficult. I'm not saying that we're not gonna feel it. But this is why you need to have relationships across jurisdictions. You have to build trust with people and begin to, again, empower people who are directly impacted and that are working in the city enterprise to help us imagine and plan how to respond.
I have a final question for you, but we are coming up on the break, and I don't want to have you race through it in a single in less than in 2 minutes. To take us into the break, can you share with us a little bit about why you are running for mayor?
I've done a lot of things in the city, working with previous mayors, Mayor Hodges, and then Jacob Fry. I was picked to co-chair the community safety work group that was impaneled after George Floyd was murdered, to make recommendations for police reform and public safety. And that's when I got a peek behind the curtain. But what really, in meaning that we needed new leadership, there were some things that I think I would have done differently that I saw were some concern to me. But what really made me do it was when Joe Biden did so terribly last year. And I said, we're going to need some help resisting what's coming out of Washington.
Apologize, I have to fit in
Yes.
that break. We're going to have more with Dr. DeWayne Davis, who is a candidate for Minneapolis, when we come back after this short break. Early voting is underway. You can find your ballot and polling location at vote.minneapolismn.gov. You can also find information on how to register to vote when you're there. Stay tuned. You're listening to The Gailey Show on AM 950 Radio, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome back to the Gailey Show. We are coming up on the top of the hour. I am John Parker. We here at the Gailey Show are continuing our coverage of the Minneapolis mayoral race by inviting candidates for mayor to join us on conversations specific to the LGBTQ community. Today, we are joined by Reverend Dr. DeWayne Davis. Dr. Davis, thank you for sticking around with us for our final question for you today, which is what specific actions could you take and would you take as mayor to stand up to the Trump administration's anti-LGBTQ executive orders, which includes freezing federal funding to force our compliance on a variety of issues?
Well, this goes back to what I said about that Office of Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging, which has under it the work with LGBTQ communities. And so I would, again, make sure that office has teeth and that those leaders are empowered not only to work with the community, but also to provide real goals and plans for how the city enterprise could respond, what ways that we could be doing things differently, what alternatives could we appeal to. But that's also why I want to really deepen the relationship with the civil rights organizations here on the ground, whether it be out front, whether it be the Office of Trans Equity, all of these organizations where we're really working hand in glove, figuring out how to respond. By the way, the reason it's important too is because remember, for a very long time, the gay community had to create its own institutions and its own processes and its own planning to do that. We need to lean into that now. That's, again, one of the reasons I'm running for mayor too, is because when I started off my life in Washington, D.C. in the 90s, we were not that far from the years in Washington where you could be fired when they found out that you were gay. And we also were not, but we were still surrounded by some states like the state of Virginia that just even announcing that you were gay or someone seeing a picture of you at Pride could get you fired from your job. And so I remember how the community came together and the wisdom and the planning that they did to support communities. So that's what I want the city to lean into. And that's why I want that office to be fully empowered to make sure that we do that. That's why, again, it was so discouraging to me that for 2 years we did not have the Trans Equity Summit. And no matter what details they throw at you, it is because that office was not fully empowered to lead and to do the work that we had symbolically said we wanted from them. And so what I really would be doing is not only, like I said, not capitulating beforehand. Right now is the time to begin to think about how we're going to backfill, to begin to think about how we're going to keep it steady, and to really bring in those organizations closer instead of trying to field it on our own or to act on behalf of somebody, as opposed to hearing directly from them what they need.
Dr. Davis, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Please, I hope people will rank me. I just want to let people know I have the endorsements of the LGBTQ Victory Fund and endorsements from the Stonewall DFL because they recognize the work that I've done for our community. And by the way, wherever we go next, I'm still going to be in that work because my life depends on it, and so does yours.
For more information about Dr. Davis's candidacy, you can go to DeWayne4Minneapolis.com. Again, early voting is underway. You can find your ballot and polling location at vote.minneapolismn.gov. You can also find information there to register to vote. Election day is November 4th, and I can put some editorial in there. We love ranked choice voting here at the Gailey Show. So you can rank up to 3 candidates, your preferred candidates in the city of Minneapolis. And I wish I had that state elections. But anyway, that's a different episode. Dr. Davis, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much, John. You all have a good rest of your day.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.